Hello, it's Linda coming to you from Valley Stamp and Scrap in Neenah, Wisconsin with another technique video. And today we are going to talk about embossing, heat embossing with stencils. Let's get started. I am using one of the Crafters Workshop stencils for this, and this one is the 6x6 word stems. 6x6 word stems. I have a 6x6 piece of black cardstock from the paper cut, the Wow embossing powder, and I am using the metallic copper regular embossing powder and the metallic silver super fine embossing powder. And I'm going to put the stencil down right on top of this 6x6 piece of paper. Open up that Wow embossing pad, and I'm actually going to be kind of using the corner of it to apply the embossing ink to each one of the actual flowers on this stencil. And I am going to go over a little bit onto the words, and that's okay. It's going to look really cool. So I'm going to go over it again and then come down, and I'm actually going in an up and down direction to do each one of the words. And it's pretty easy to see when you're doing this if you've missed anywhere. With it being kind of a small area, again, I'm using just that corner, and we'll close up that embossing pad and we'll gently lift this up. And I think you can even see on camera where that ink is. It's got kind of a shiny appearance to it. And I have a scratch piece of paper here to collect the embossing powder, and I'm going to use that copper first. And I'm just sprinkling it on, aiming for the flowers. Again, a little bit will probably go on to the words, but that just adds to how cool the technique is. And I will put that onto the scratch paper and empty it back into the jar of embossing powder, something that I have learned over the last year from dealing with Wow, which is one of the best companies on the market as far as heat embossing, is that you don't want to take the embossing powder out of the container, the jar it comes in, and put it in something else. That will cause issues with the process that's used to make the actual embossing powder, so that it does not work as well. So that is something new. I was one of the ones that wanted to put it into a small Tupperware container and then use a spoon to apply it. But when you get it right from the manufacturer, you know it must be true. So you want to keep your powder in the jar that it came in. Oop, I don't need to put the top on it yet. And I'm going to jump off the silver. And so now we have that copper at the top and the silver at the bottom, and they kind of blend a little bit. And I will get the silver poured back into its jar. And we'll set that aside. Oh, super easy to put the top on, don't you think? There we go. And I have got my Wow dual speed heat tool here that I'm going to be using. And this happens to be this technique that I'm using these colors on. It's kind of dramatic when it melts. Isn't that our favorite part of doing heat embossing, is that little bit of drama as the powder melts? Anytime that you use any of the metallics, it is super cool. And then we'll come back over and do the silver on the stems. And it melts really fast. And just like that, then we are done. And you'll notice that I have some speckles on it. I did not use an embossing buddy, mainly because I can't find my embossing buddy. But in the with this technique, I think having the little bit of speckles around it actually adds to how cool it looks. And it's got that metallic shimmer to it. This could actually be used on a card to make a 6x6 card. You could cut it down and use it on a scrapbook page. You could definitely use it in an art journal. You could cut each one of the stems apart. There's a myriad of things that you could do with this once it's done. But again, nice and easy, just laying the stencil down, applying the embossing ink to it, and then at least, I like using 2 colors. You could certainly use 1 color, or you could use 3 or 4 colors. As far as what I thought, a pretty easy technique for very dramatic results. So all of the supplies that I used in this will be the link attached to this video. You can go right out to valleystampndscrap.com and you can search for technique video 12-9-21, and that will also show you all of the supplies that we used on this technique. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye-bye now.